triggering maybe a little bit, but anyway, that's just me. But it was great. Remember I'm talking about love this morning, and just how I really do believe love is all, and all is love. And so I'm going to remember the other day I talked about the wheel. Okay. Let me see. My drawing skills. Okay, not a very good wheel, but it'll work. I sort of came up with this image. So this is the hub, and this is the outside of the wheel, okay? And I've done a lot of studies. I do a lot of reading, a lot of research. I'm very fascinated with religion, spirituality, philosophy, quantum physics, all that stuff. And I began to notice something. So let's say you've got Christianity here. I explained this the other day without a picture, so I want to draw it for you. Let's say there is Judaism, Islam, Hindu, let's say, Buddhist, let's say atheism, let's say science, whatever. Pardon? Baha'i, millions of spokes. And you know, when you think about it, like even within Christianity, it could have its own wheel with 45,000 spokes, right? So, but in reading in all of these Eastern philosophy, yeah, let's put philosophy there as well. I began to notice something that the mystics, the philosophers, living and dead, mystics, living and dead, quantum physicists, scientists, Buddhists, Muslim mystics, on and on and on. It's like each of these have their sort of a mystical, I don't, that's not the best word because people have a lot of kind of a idea of mysticism that it's, of the devil or whatever, but I'm talking about how even though Christianity has its own spoke, the mystics of Christianity, like Meister Eckhart and Thomas Merton and the cloud of unknowing, these kinds of things, they sound more like they talk more about love and the union of everything. And it's the same with Islam, with the Muslim mystics. Who's the famous Muslim mystic? No, there's yes, but there's the other. It starts with an H. Anyway, they start talking about love and union and the oneness of everything. Same with Buddhism and with quantum physics. They Einstein to his dying day believed that there was a unifying theory to everything. And even though the quantum physicists came along and were preaching chaos, he still believed there's no, to his dying day, even though he couldn't formulate it, he believed that there was a unifying theory to everything. One thing that bound us all together. And I remember reading, so at the same time as I was reading like people like Krishnamurti, an Eastern philosopher, and others, and I was also reading at the same time quantum physics, and a certain quantum physicist named David Bohm. David Bohm and Krishnamurti, a Eastern philosopher, were friends, and they would have conversations, talk back and forth. Some of these are on YouTube. Fascinating, fascinating discussions. They published a book together on their dialogues and all that. And I'm just like, there's something going on. I was like Einstein, not that smart, but like Einstein, I believe there's something binding all of us together. And David Bohm, even though he was a quantum physicist, a scientist through and through, believed that somehow there was this unifying thing that he was looking for as well. And he believed it was compassionate. And it totally upset the scientific world because it sounded kind of woo-woo, you know? And I love him for that. He was rejected, some kind of silenced, blackballed, you know, by the scientific community. And that to me is fascinating. What is that one thing what's the glue? You know? Something Lisa and I, my wife and I, discovered after we were going through the deconstruction of our beliefs and everything like that, and then when I left the ministry and we left the church, that's when it got really, really messy. Because now our deconstruction had an impact on our practical lives. I lost my job, I lost my income, we lost all of our friends. I lost my sense of purpose and meaning in life. What do I do now? Lisa started university at 48 years old. Eventually got her nursing degree. What am I going to do? So I just focused on being a pastor. Like, it was totally, our kids had left home. We were empty nesters. We had to file for bankruptcy because I was in the ministry so long, I was so poor, and we were so in debt. We had to file for bankruptcy. Like, it was just the perfect storm. And Lisa and I deconstructing, her and her way and me and my way, and we're trying to figure out, we're so different. We felt like we were drifting apart, like we were together in the ministry, and now boom, it's gone. What's holding us together? And we really had to sit down. I remember the day just so clearly. Lisa looked at me this is a couple of years after I left the ministry. I thought it was okay. But she looked at me and said, you need help. And I knew she was right. I needed help. So I started going to therapy and, you know, all this kind of thing. And we felt ourselves, we were drifting apart because we lost somehow. Before there were external forces keeping us together. Ministry, common friends, common schedule, common sense of purpose, common sense of meaning, our kids, you know, all this stuff was keeping us together. And then when all that was gone, we felt ourselves kind of drifting apart. Okay, we had to sit down, we had to renegotiate. How are we going to stay together? How are we going to stay married? And we realized it's not all these things that are the glue. It's not even compatibility of beliefs that is the glue. We realized the real glue in our relationship was love, which meant mutual respect and honor and all that. So, and that to me was like a mind-blowing realization that, yeah, we're in love and all that for a long time, madly in love for a long time. And we were very much alike in many ways, but that wasn't the glue. The glue was this love that bound us together. And I've carried that realization into the way I do community, online or anywhere. It's not sameness that keeps us together. It's not compatibility of beliefs that keeps us together. It might make things easier, but that's not the glue. The glue is mutual respect. It's love, you know. And I think that's the unifying theory of everything. That's what keeps us all together is this love. And so when you look at all these different spokes, the more we talk about love and union and so on, the more they start sounding the same. They might be in a different tradition, Buddhist, whatever, Muslim, Christian, or whatever, but they sound like they're describing the same thing from their perspective. The further out you get, the more exclusive you get, the more distinctive you become. Now, that's not bad. I believe in distinctives. I believe in diversity. I believe we should honor our distinctives. Different races, different gender, different sexes, different languages, different cultures, different, all this religions, everything. The problem is when we get exclusive and we think ours is the only right way. That's where it gets to be a problem. So the further away you get from the center and the more distinctive you become, the more separate you become. That's the danger, right? The closer you get to the center of this, the closer together you become. So that I believe this whole thing somehow is an illustration of how love works in our community, in our relationships, one-on-one, all the way to the whole world. And somehow we need to get to that place where we honor distinctives and appreciate them, but at the same time working towards this unity. Feel free to interrupt me anytime, and I'm already much longer than I am. Okay, so another big thing that changed blew my mind about love is true love. I'm talking about like universal love. It's not Hollywood-y. It's not about romance. It's not about sentimentality. It's not about attraction. It's not about arousal. It's not about appearance. It's not about appetite. It's not about, all these different things that we associate with romance and love and all that, or taste, or preference. That's not love. To me, what love is when Jesus said, the rain falls on the just and the unjust alike, falls on everyone. The sun shines on everyone, the same. They didn't know about gravity back then. Gravity pulls everyone the same. It's indiscriminate. Indiscriminate sounds like a negative word, but I don't mean it in a negative way. I just mean it doesn't care. It just rains on everyone. It shines on everyone. It pulls everyone. That's what love is. So as soon as you associate God's love with romance or preference or desire or arousal or attraction and all that, then we're already missing it. That's why I fight so hard on this battle line, along with my LGBTQ friends, is because if you exclude people like that, that's a profound and fatal misunderstanding of what love is. Because it'd be like saying the rain falls on everyone except you. Or the sun shines on everyone except you. Gravity pulls everyone except you. Then you don't understand what rain is, or sun is, or gravity is. You know that parable where Jesus talks about the sower sowing the seed? My personal suspicion is that Jesus would just look at things happening in life and say, see that's the kingdom of God right there. So when you see the beautiful flowers in the field, they don't care about tomorrow. They're not worried. I think that's all you have to say. Or when you see a sparrow fall, God notices that. I think that was just all he had to say. And I wonder, I do wonder if Jesus saw somebody sowing seed, like just sowing seed like that. He's saying, see how he's just throwing it everywhere and it's landing everywhere? That's the kingdom of God right there. I think that was probably maybe what he said. And then the preachers got a hold of it and said, if it lands on rock, that means you got a hard heart. If it lands on the path, it means you're, rejecting God. And if it's the birds, that's Satan coming and, all that stuff. I think Jesus was like, the sowers sow seed, and it's indiscriminate. It just goes everywhere. And I think that's what love is. I think that's what love does. It's indiscriminate. Yeah, you understand what I mean? I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean it's like the sower. And I showed a cartoon yesterday of the sower and Jesus throwing hearts. They just go everywhere. I have another cartoon where God's throwing hearts out of heaven and goes, everybody gets some. And that's, I think, what love is. That sort of, the sower, that indiscriminate. But we sow, our minds say, yes, but, what about, don't go there. The sun shines on everyone. Yeah, but that's another topic. If you want to talk about, I love you. I have boundaries. That's a different topic, but it has nothing to do with my love. So, this sort of indiscriminate casting of the seed everywhere, and everybody gets some, to me is a picture of love. And it's messy. It doesn't make sense to us. Because we become exclusive. Like when we think we've discovered the truth, then it becomes the truth somehow. When we discover truth, it somehow gets a capital T, and then we have to enforce it, and it causes division. It's like the lines, the eraser cartoon, where we draw lines between one another. Jesus is in the middle, trying to erase all those lines. So David Bohm, there were these experiments that they did. And because there's this problem going on with, like I said, Einstein believed in a universal theory that united everything. And the quantum physicists came along and everything is chaos. And he's like, no, I don't think God makes mistakes. And he believed there was somehow a unifying theory to all that. And so they're trying to do experiments to illustrate this, that there can be chaos, but at the same time, a unifying theory of everything. And one of the experiments was a glass cylinder. And inside the glass cylinder was another glass cylinder. And they could rotate the inside glass cylinder. You understand? And so what they did was they put a small drop of black ink, oil-based ink in the between the cylinders, so that when you spun the inside cylinder, that ink would smear. You understand? Okay. So with this experiment, they would put that drop in, and then they would turn the inside cylinder, and the ink would smear like that. And it's all smudgy and messy looking, right? Then when you reverse it, it all goes back to the dot again. Now, when you're doing this, it looks like it's a smear. And it's all messy, doesn't make sense. And you'd look at that and you'd say, what a mess. But then when you reverse it all goes back. And so David Bohm is one of the ones who believed that this was the theory of the universe, that everything is unfolding. Everything's unfolding. It looks very complicated, very confusing, but if you folded it all back, it would all make sense again. It's that unifying theory, trying to make sense of the chaos. You see what I mean? I got a video. I'm wondering if you've seen this before. Have you seen this? Anybody seen this thing? Have you? Watch this. Not pretty? It all began together, right? See that? All one. It's all one. Okay, watch. What a mess. Still a mess. Now I don't care how smart you are, or how creative you are, or how much of a philosopher you are. If I were to just put that in front of you, that picture, you would say that makes no sense. That's just chaos. Doesn't make any sense. And it can't make sense. Again, it doesn't make sense. It kind of makes sense. Look at that. That's how it started. And how many iterations did it have to go through to get to that? I don't know what my life looks like the mixed up one often. Makes no sense. It's chaos. Feels like chaos. But there's an order there that I can't see. That there is an order there. It makes no sense. I can't make sense of it, but I can't tell you there's an order there. I really do feel the order there. And that is compassion. And this ball thing is an illustration of that, where we would love to see everything lined up in a straight line. We would love everybody to be the same. We would love everybody to get along and think the same things and all this kind of thing. Instead, what we often experience is this chaos of difference and disharmony and all that. But isn't really difference deep down, and disharmony deep down, and division deep down? I really do believe that love is the unifying, indiscriminate glue that binds us all together and holds us all together and is the unifying theory that we can't seem to make sense of. But I believe that if we trusted it was true, then the world would be a far better place. So that's why I do what I do, the way I do it. I believe that unity and love is the starting point. I don't feel like I have to work for unity. I believe already, I make the assumption that we're already one. We just have to figure it out. I believe that we already love one another. We just need to figure it out, how it works, and trust that there's a design somehow, like that. At times it doesn't look like there's design. In my marriage, sometimes it doesn't feel like there's a unifying theory or a design, or in our communities. But if we trust that there is that unifying theory or that unifying glue of love, that it's there, and appreciate somehow the diversity and the discrepancies and the differences and all that, but underneath it all, there is a design. David Bohm, Albert Einstein, them with the cylinder and these balls and all that, we're trying to illustrate, yeah, everything seems chaotic, but there's a unifying theory. It all comes together somehow. I think that's what love is. And that's all I have to say. And I love you. And it's been great to meet you.